I asked this on Twitter. Who does this young man, Jaume Munar, I'm not sure if I'm saying his first name right, who does he remind you of? I was talking about playing style, but Schmego, he nailed it in the comments, and Damien nailed it on the Twitters. Don't forget, every year we have Damien posted in the ocean just behind the show court in Monte Carlo watching. Spying. The name of the spy yacht? The King of Blue Clay. Today on Coffee Break Tennis, the King of Clay is back. He looked awesome. Literally just crushing Roberto Bautista Agut. But here on the Metro UK, George Belshaw has an article with a quote from Rafa. Not everything is going as perfectly as Rafa's first match did in the knee. We'll talk about that. Also, who can challenge the King of Clay? There are a few players here in Monte Carlo who are doing well. We'll look at their matches, we'll look at their stats, we'll look at the draw, and we'll talk about who actually has a chance, if Rafa stays healthy, to challenge to win this Monte Carlo title. And finally, in a quick show today, what happened with FAA Felix Auger-Aliassime? Many of us were expecting him to do pretty big things in Monte Carlo. He's exited earlier. Obviously, he had to play Sasha Zverev first. We'll take a small look at what happened with that match. All that and nothing more today. Nichts! On Coffee Break Tennis. Oh, also, we'll do a couple of comments. So much to talk about. Lots of people were upset with me that I said Tiger Woods' comeback was not as great as Federer's. I don't think that was exactly what I said, but maybe you could, maybe it did seem like I was kind of saying that. I said that what really stood out to me that made Federer's comeback so special that you don't really have that element in Tiger's comeback when he won the Masters. In 2017, Federer had to come back from a breakdown in the fifth set against Rafa, and just the fact that he did it against Rafa. Now, if Roger did it at the French Open against Rafa, that would definitely make it bigger than that would be the biggest comeback ever, because that's like a comeback going back to he's never done it. You know, you look back at the when was the last time they played at the French Open final? It wasn't 2008, was it? Anyways, but if you go back to 2008, you see how horrible that was. What a crushing defeat that was, in losing at Wimbledon. Maybe that would be the greatest comeback ever. But anyways, many of you, just to get this out of the way, we're not going to talk about golf today at all. Just want to wrap this up. Many of you have made comments below about why the Tiger Woods comeback was greater, and there's a really strong case for that. And if I had to pick one, I'd probably go with the Tiger Woods comeback, even though it is missing that crucial element of going up against your chief rival. Really, you could argue Tiger Woods was going up against a bunch of young people who started playing golf because of what he did back in the 90s, early 2000s, and so on. Anyways, enough about that. I should probably mention Tiger, lots of back surgeries. Trouble walking. I read this one story about Tiger falling over with no phone while he was practicing, and just his back was seized up so bad he couldn't get up off the ground, and he just had to lay there and wait until his daughter eventually came out there and said, "Whoa, what's up? Why are you on the ground?" So yeah, stuff like that. Not sure if you'll ever be able to play golf again because your back is so badly messed up. Does make it a pretty big, unbelievable comeback. Anyways, this is a tennis show, so let's start off with Rafa Nadal still feels pain, but no limitations as he returns to the clay. This is in the metro.co.uk. George Belshaw, 32-year-old, has won 11 of his 17 Grand Slam titles on a clay court, the French Open, and typically finds his best form on the dirt. There's no reason to suggest this season will be any different, but of course, there is, because every year, it seems like now, at least for the last few years, Rafa is always coming back from some serious knee injuries that pretty much wreck his hard court season. And I have one comment that I wanted to read later in the show that basically makes a case for Rafa's been better on hard courts this year than Roger. And yeah, he made the final of the Australian Open, so maybe there's something to that. Anyways, we'll talk about that later at the end of the show when we do comments. Asked if he felt any pain in his knee after his 6-1, 6-1 double breadstick win, Rafa said, "I can't pretend to have no pain at all, because I never thought about that." Now, I will put one comment on the screen. This is anonymous. This was a private Twitter message from somebody who is a big Fed fan. And as you can see, already preparing excuses for the exit. Now, maybe that's a bit much. I think Rafa's being honest. I think he's probably a little nervous, even though things went really well against Roberto Batista Agut. Rafa looked great. Rafa did all of his normal Rafa things. Oh, I have a great article. We'll have to do it next time. Not enough time today. I didn't print it today either. But Craig O'Shaughnessy, who works with the Djokovic team and basically had a lot of work to do after that nightmare of a first match against the cultpickle Djokovic, was just pretty awful. I mean, he had his moments where he was playing great, but the serving was really bad. At one point, I think in the third set, Djokovic had 2 double faults back-to-back. And the only reason why Djokovic didn't lose is because Kohlschreiber kind of, it was almost like, to sum up that match, Kohlschreiber sees like, my opponent is missing many first serves and double faulting a lot, making many unforced errors. How will I counter this game plan? I will make even more unforced errors and miss even more first serves. So it's like every time Djokovic put himself in a very weak position, like double faulting twice in a row in the third set, Kohlschreiber would play even worse. It was an awful match. It was almost as ugly as Sasha Zverev and Felix Auger FAA Aliassime today. When Djokovic had the 2 double faults back-to-back, of course he missed his first serve, and to avoid 3 double faults in a row, which is like, how does a world number 1 have 3 double faults in a row? He throws in, like, I didn't see the speed, but it must have been a 50, 60 mile an hour second serve. I mean, it was total meatball, and Kohlschreiber missed it, like, low, like in the bottom of the net. It was awful. Anyways, Rafa says he's very happy for the positive start. He had good feelings on the court. He was able to move well and be confident with the things that I did. Says he's going to have to be ready for Grigor. He's got Dimitrov next, who looked pretty good against Jan-Lennard Struff. We'll look at some of the stats from that in a moment. Another interesting thing Nadal said here. He said, I can't tell you I found my great rhythm. No, is not the case. No. I just started well. It's the first match in almost a year on this surface. But of course, a start like this helps. Tomorrow is another good test against Grigor. Let's see. I need to play well again. Now, what I need is to play matches, spend hours on the court, and of course, the victories help. Every victory. Positive energy, confidence in the game, confidence in the body. That's what I need, Rafa says. So, great start from the King of Clay. Long live the King. This came right back. So the big question now is, as Rafa said, he needs more hours in court, more matches like this, more matches, more matches, more matches. Get ready to play the best players when they're playing well. Djokovic, the way he played in his first match, if Rafa had played him today, he would have freaking killed him. That he would have been throwing like a bagel at Djokovic in that first set, the second set either. I mean, in the second set, think about this. Kohlschreiber broke Djokovic, I think, 4 times in a row, almost 5. I think he almost broke him to start the third set. Anyways, Kohlschreiber can break Djokovic 4 times in a row. Rafa would have laid a bagel on him, no doubt, in the second set. But, of course, that's not how it works. That's why these guys play each other in the end. They have time to bring their games up as they play the lower-ranked players. So my big point, my big question here is Rafa, like he said, he's going to have to keep playing the matches, keep finding the rhythm, finding the positive energies, finding the feelings, the right feelings, all that stuff that Rafa always talks about. He'll have to keep doing it so that when he does meet a Djokovic, who might be playing well by the time they meet somewhere, maybe not Monte Carlo, but they will meet somewhere on the clay, and it will be a big match that Rafa must win to remain being the King of Clay this year at least. My big question is, will Rafa's knee hold up for all of those matches, even though it's on the softer, preferred clay court surface? Will he be able to hold up and play without pain, play without limitations all the way through this fairly long clay season? I mean, it goes by pretty fast, but it's a lot longer than the grass season, obviously. All right, so let's take a look at some stats and talk about the different matches and the different players that I'm going to look at the draw. Let's put the draw on the screen first. So Djokovic will have to play Taylor Fritz tomorrow. Medvedev and Stefanos Tsitsipas. That could be a very good match. And those guys don't really like each other. If you'll remember last year in Miami, Tsitsipas almost got in what appeared to be a fist fight. You know, Danny Medvedev said, "Do you want to fight? Stefanos, do you want to fight?" And then the umpire's like, no, Danny, please, no fighting, please. And Stefanos is like out of there. He grabs his bag and basically runs off the court after the match. And then Danny Medvedev says to the umpires, it's like, he's just a boy. He doesn't know how to fight. So those guys will play in a must-watch match tomorrow. Duzi Lajovic and Dominic Thiem. Dominic Thiem looks pretty good. Looked great, actually. Dominic Thiem could win this tournament. I think he'll get past Djokovic if they do play. Cameron Norrie and the Sonego guy. I don't know much about him. He's a qualifier, but he's one of those guys who's been playing a lot of clay this year and is doing well on the clay. Cam Norrie's a pretty solid guy. Every time I watch him, he seems to, he's like what you always hear. No big weapons, but very consistent player. And on this very slow, this is the slowest court of the year. Don't forget that. This is like the slowest clay court. You get to see lots of issues. If there's little issues that maybe you can hide behind some big serves and some flashy shots on a faster court, this surface, you're going to have to hit tons of ground strokes. That's why we saw Djokovic make a bunch of unforced errors. We've seen a lot of players lose because they made, like today, Felix Auger-Aliassime, I think he had like 30, 40 unforced errors, some crazy number, so we'll look at that later. Cam Norrie is a player that can hit a ton of shots without missing, so he'll be able to go as far as he can until he plays someone that's like who does what Rafa doesn't play. Also consistent, can stay in rallies, but also like can bring some major offense in the key moments. And oh yeah, I'm so dumb. I didn't say this earlier. Craig O'Shaughnessy wrote an article about Rafa's return style, how he gets all the way back on the clay at the wall and on hard courts too sometimes. And then he works his way back to the baseline. And I have a cool stat you'll see from his match today where he's taken the ball earlier than Roberto Bautista Agut was. Even though he starts off at the fence, he works his way up to the baseline. And on average, taking the ball pretty early. In fact, let's go ahead and put that up on the screen right now. Would you ever guess that? That Rafa's average rally ball is pretty far, a whole meter, 1 meter, European measurement, ahead of Roberto Bautista Agut. Anyways, back to the draw. Herbert played really well against Nishikori. We'll play Borna Coric, who, like Jerry Seinfeld, Mr. Yam Munar, he gave Coric a real battle and almost came back in the third set. So I don't know how Coric is going to be feeling. Herbert, upset alert there for tomorrow. Fabio Fognini, who I recently said looks like he's like over it and might maybe retire fairly soon. I watched his first match. Who did he play? Whoever he played was a qualifier. I don't remember, but I watched the match. And I just remember watching Fognini and thinking, this looks like a guy who's sick of losing. And he played pretty tough, actually. For Fabio Fognini, he was pretty tough. So he'll play Sasha Zverev. Sasha Zverev, it wasn't like he played great. Just Felix Auger couldn't keep the ball in the court most of the match. That was really what happened there. But I will say Zverev played better than he did in Marrakesh. Zverev, he had some spectacular play in the right moments. And he was consistent enough to not hit a bunch of errors and lose, force himself, beat himself. So there you go. Against Fognini, maybe if he can just hang in and be tough, maybe Fognini will hit himself out of the match. Guido Pella is playing really well. Cecchinato, what a comeback. Down, what was he down? Like 6-0, 2-0 against Stan. That's a toss-up match. Both of those guys love clay. Both of those guys are really tough. Grigor Dimitrov, Rafa Nadal. Let's start there and look at Grigor's stats. First off, I like where Grigor stands. If you take a look at return positions, by the time Grigor split step, look how tight he is on that first serve return. Now, all these guys, most of these players, they split step in a little bit on the first serve to kind of limit the angles, ace protection, ace defense. And then on the second serve, they split step backwards because you're always getting these kick serves because the kick gets real high on the clay, as you know. And so all these guys split step back so that the ball drops a little on that kick and you don't have to take the ball too high. Even though it's slower, you still don't want to deal with the height. A slow ball really high can kill you. Dimitrov, he kind of stands his ground. He backs up a tiny bit on the second to stop the kick serve being so effective. But he kind of holds his ground and doesn't jump back as much. And then on the first serve, he's coming in closer to the baseline than anyone else. Like I said, if you want to know what Federer is going to play like on clay this year, watch Grigor very closely, especially when he plays Nadal. I mean, I was really hoping to get this match because I'd like to see how would the Federer close to the baseline, more offensive on clay style work against Nadal in 2019. So we'll find out tomorrow. Dominic Thiem playing the first serve in pretty tight, backing up for him, backing up on the second serve, and then every now and then on second serves, Dominic Thiem would step in and take the second serve pretty early and not let it jump up so much. So I thought that was interesting, kind of mixing up the looks. I really liked how Dominic Thiem was playing. I mean, the first game was like 13 minutes, and this is freaking hilarious. I've heard people saying, like, can you hear people laughing and, like, weird noises during the matches? So watch this really quick. Hopefully we don't get in trouble from those great people over at the ATP. This is a second serve. This is a double fault. And there's, like, a restaurant. So these people aren't watching the tennis, but you can hear them. And they're laughing at something, and you hear forks being dropped and stuff like that. Anyways, just take a listen. I mean, how does that happen and you don't feel like they're laughing at me because I double faulted? There's Nadal. See where he is on the right? He's way back there. It almost looks like he's sitting in the crowd. Like I said, Craig O'Shaughnessy has a great piece on that. We'll probably do that on the next show. And then here's Mr. Tsitsipas. Compare that to Grigor. Old Sisyphus, he's back pretty far too. I mean, this is normal stuff on clay. All these guys are going to do it, but I would like to see him try to take the ball earlier, like Federer, like Dimitrov, especially with the one-hand backhand. I think it's real easy to scoop that thing up on the rise with a one-hander. Anyways, let's look at the stats. It's a little high risk to take the ball so early and hug the baseline, but Dimitrov did well. 26 winners on 25 unforced errors. That might sound like a lot, but everyone's hitting a lot. And look at how Struff, less winners and more unforced errors. And a lot of those unforced errors was not necessarily Dimitrov doing anything super special. Just when you take the ball early and you play tight from the baseline, you're going to get more unforced errors out of your opponent. It's just the way it is. So, like I said, I'd like to see Tsitsipas do that a little more, at least with the return. Dimitrov, 75% of the returns back. Struff, 81. Dimitrov still not serving great, but serving, he's getting a little better as we go deeper into the tournament. Now, you might, healthy percentages for Dimitrov, although 48% in on the first, he'll need that higher to have a chance against Rafa. Now, you might say, like, Matt, who cares? What's the difference with the return and all? You know, I was really impressed watching Tsitsipas and how when he was forced to hit backhands from a defensive kind of deep in the court position, he was pretty strong on that one-hander. And I have a clip, but I don't know if I should use it. I don't want to get in trouble. But when he broke the Kukushkin, when he broke him in the third set to take a 6-5 lead and serve the match out, Tsitsipas, I was really impressed the way he was stuck in the backhand corner, and he was keeping it deep enough cross-court to stay alive, and then he took it right up the line on the backhand, and it was pretty beautiful. Finished it right there. That was break point. Against Rafa, that won't work because you're feeding into the Rafa forehand. You're just asking to get freaking crunched. And the way Tsitsipas is dropping back and taking the serve late, I think you'll never have a chance to make an impression on the Rafa serve game. So I'm curious to see how Grigor, trying to take that return a little earlier, will do against Rafa. If he can take it early enough, I think he will have a chance to maybe get a look at breaking. He might get some breakpoint opportunities. We'll see tomorrow. Interesting to me, though. Who else do we got? Let's take a look at Nadal himself. Kind of like the Dimitrov numbers. 16 winners, 16 unforced errors, but Bautista Agut couldn't get anything past Rafa. That's just how it is when you play Rafa on clay. Only 3 winners for the whole match. None in the first set. Rafa, who contains everything when he's back, moves in often enough to have a closer to the baseline average rally hit point, as you saw on the screen earlier, is able to force a lot of errors out of Roberto Bautista Agut. 88% from Bautista Agut, but like I said, that's why I want Grigor Dimitrov style return on Nadal, because at least you'll have a chance to get returns in where you can work with it. Even though Bautista Agut got 88% of Rafa's serves back in play, that did nothing. Here's just a little proof of what I'm saying, that Rafa is going to nail your backhand corner with heavy, deep balls. Look how deep those balls go. When they go to the forehand corner, not quite as deep on average. Look at those 3 balls that are basically like right on the baseline. Nothing in the middle from Rafa. Felix Auger-Aliassime, like I said, 33 unforced errors. Even though Zverev's 18 with only 9 winners, I mean, he didn't have to do too much with the 33 unforced errors. 96% return serves from Sasha Zverev. 68% first serves in. And even though Auger-Aliassime got 84% back, you're just so far behind in the point when you get these serves back. If you don't hurt them at all with the return, it's not going to pay off for you too much. And Sasha winning 66% on that first, 47% on the second. Take a look at the location. I mean, Sasha was serving really well today. 83% in the, like what I like to call the Federer zone, because whenever you look at Federer's serves in this kind of stat layout they have here, it's always in that outer region of the box. And 83 on the ad court, on the deuce court, 89% in that region. Dominic Thiem, talk about benefiting from unforced errors. 40 unforced errors from Klizan, who can kind of lose it sometimes. But Dominic Thiem, less winners than unforced errors, didn't have to do much, and never giving Klizan anything easy to attack. Dominic Thiem was hitting a very heavy ball, kind of like Rafa. You know how Dominic Thiem plays. Dominic Thiem looking pretty good. 83% of serves put back in play from the Teamster. 53% first serve in. 87 win on first. 70 win on second. Dominic Thiem looking very good. Those are some of the best numbers around, although Klizan did help him out with 40 unforced errors. So we'll see what someone more consistent will do. Now, let's take a look. Tsitsipas had the cleanest set of anyone today. 10 winners on only 3 unforced errors. I mean, Stefanos was playing perfectly in that first set. 10 unforced errors from his enemy, Kukushkin, the Gegner. 7 winners from the Kushmeister. And if we look at the whole match numbers from Stefanos Tsitsipas, then it's kind of evened out. 22 winners on 23 unforced errors. Didn't play as solid in the second set, but limiting Kushmeister to 14 winners on 23 unforced errors. Tons of serves back in play from Kukushkin, 87. It's a high number. 84 from Tsitsipas, but out of those 87%, nothing that could really hurt Stefanos. Maybe Danny Medvedev will be able to do it. He's a flat ball hitter like Kukushkin, but a lot more pace. It's just a lot more everything from Medvedev. That's going to be a really tough match. If Tsitsipas comes through that match, look out for him because he might be able to do pretty well here. He's playing very consistently, very solidly. 74% win on first serve. All those balls coming back to nothing. 48 on second. Not so good from Tsitsipas. 54% in. So there you go. I wish I had the Djokovic stats today. I don't have them actually, but lots of errors. Like I said, if Kohlschreiber would have just played a little tiny bit better, he definitely would have beat Djokovic. But Djokovic survives, and now he has a chance to play better. And maybe he will, but he'll have Taylor Fritz. It's kind of a nice draw for Djokovic. But then he'll have Tsitsipas or Danny Medvedev. So comment below. We just looked at the stats. We just talked about some of these different people who could maybe challenge Rafa. Do any of them scary? Do you think any of them can challenge Rafa? Told you already. The way Djokovic played, he'd get freaking crushed by Rafa. Tsitsipas, potential. But do you really think Tsitsipas, after what happened to Aussie Open, will beat Rafa? I don't think he has the belief yet to beat Rafa here. Dominic Thiem, looking very good. I think he could beat Rafa. Maybe. Sasha Zverev? No way. So comment below what you think. We'll keep updating this draw, taking looks at it. Let's do a couple comments, and we'll get out of here. Really quick, this is from the Rafa match. Take a look at this kid. Baby Rafa was in the stands today watching Rafa Nadal, if you missed it. Robert Starr, the Janko Tipsarevic interview was fascinating. He certainly seems to be an intelligent man with common sense views that should be listened to. By the way, regarding Murray, he only said that because Murray loves tennis. If he's feeling fit, returns to play, he can see Murray winning one more slam before retiring thereafter. So, yeah, Robert Starr nailed it. I think Janko really believes in the power of if you want it bad enough and you work hard enough, you can do anything, which is a great message. Janko. Sorry, not Janko. Janko Tipsarevic. And I think that's great. I don't believe that Murray's hip will ever be good enough to move the way you need to win majors in singles ATP tennis. But if somehow he is able to get close enough to the fitness and he wants it bad enough and he plays hard enough and long enough, sure, anything's possible. Atheist Corey, who is an atheist. Federer has signed up for Rome as well. Want to explain how this works really quick. He's on the entry list, which is kind of like RSVP for maybe. Basically, if he does well in Madrid, there is no way he'll play Rome. I mean, I don't know. I also said there's no way he's going to switch to Uniqlo right during Wimbledon. And I was wrong about that. But typically what this means is he's got that as a backup. If he loses first round or maybe second round in Madrid, then he will go to Rome just to get a few more matches on clay before he goes to the French Open. I think likely what we'll see is Roger does pretty well in Madrid and doesn't play Rome, and does pretty well in Paris, the French Open, Roland Garros. You know, pretty well as in does a lot more than what we would expect. I don't know if he'll win either of those tournaments. I wouldn't be surprised if he went deep, though. I think what will likely happen is he'll surprise himself and surprise all of us with how well he does. He'll pick up some nice points, and he'll go into the grass feeling pretty good and hopefully totally healthy. And from Omer Kazi, Rafa has played better than Federer this season, even on the hard courts. He made the finals at the Aussie Open, played at a higher level than Federer in Indian Wells. Yeah, but he didn't make the final. I feel that people should start critiquing Nadal after Monte Carlo instead of saying he won't win the French this year before he even starts his clay court campaign. Now, I know some people may be saying that, Omer, and I don't agree with that either. I think you shouldn't be saying what is going to happen to Rafa, win or lose, really. I mean, well, Rafa's earned the right for everyone to assume he's going to win all the clay. But you got to admit, the last few years, the knee up and down, you never know. I mean, we can be pretty sure things are going to go well this season. But you saw in the beginning of the show, even Rafa said the knee's not like 100%. He can't lie and say it's totally pain-free, but it's working. And I've had the same exact knee issue as Rafa. I know exactly what he's talking about. Plenty of times where my knee feels fine, I'm moving great, and then there's a sharp pain, and then for like a couple points, if I'm in a match, I don't move quite the same, and I'm a little tentative and really uncomfortable, and then the sharp pain goes away, and then I go right back to moving like normal, and everything's okay. But I'm real nervous because there's been times in the past where my knee hurt for several days, and I couldn't push on it at all. And so once you feel that tight pain, that sharp pain in your knee, just for 1 point even, you're real nervous. It's in the back of your mind wondering, oh my God, is it going to come back? Is it going to ruin my tennis for a freaking month or week or however long? You never know. All right, hit the music. That's it for us. Last thing, I'm really pushing my luck today, but no sound. Just take a look. I've heard comments before that say, Matt, Felix Auger-Aliassime's forehand, it's so much like Federer's. Take a look. I just want to point out, it does look a lot like Federer's, especially the way he can be so aggressive with it. What did the stats say again? 15 unforced errors on that wing today, for your information. All right, that's it for us. Again, comment below. Who do you think has a chance? Make sure you subscribe. If you love the channel, it helps us out a great deal. Give us a thumbs up. Follow us on Twitter at Coffee Break TENS, like the number 10. Follow us on Instagram at Coffee Break Tennis. We will be back after we see some more matches and can figure out what the heck is going to happen at this great tournament, Monte Carlo. See ya!